undergrad, I worked at the library, but not at Greenhouse Studios. I worked like across the hall in IT, and someone I met through work there, I guess, liked me and brought me over and introduced me to people, and was like, was saying, "Hey, like this is Samson. He's a computer science student. He should do an internship here." And then I was just being polite. I didn't think anything would come of it, so I was, I guess, introduced to them, people who worked there. And then I left, and I didn't think anything would come of it. And then that summer, I got an email from Tom Lee, who works there, offering me a job, or I guess offer me an interview. And yeah, I mean, that's how it started. So just kind of like an offhand chance of meeting someone, and then something came out of it.
Member, I had been I had been an adjunct with digital media and design for a few years, and then once I went full time, I started meeting a lot of the faculty in digital media and design, and of course, Tom Scheinfeld is a faculty member in DMD, and I was approached with this idea of an app. At the time, it was called Tube. And there was a student already working on it, and it was a student that I had worked with at digital media and design as well. And they were looking to have someone else help out with the development of the app. And so I came to Greenhouse for a few meetings to just kind of see how things were. I didn't even know what Greenhouse was, to be honest. And I sat down with everyone, and they have that sort of table in the center where everyone just kind of congregates and talks about issues and things that we're working on. And it was awesome. It was like, I mean, I love teaching in DMD, but part of what we have to do is kind of keep moving like the industry forward and doing research and working on meaningful, impactful, things. And when I was presented with the opportunity to work with all of the people in Greenhouse and work on something that was really cool and to me really meaningful, I sort of jumped at the opportunity, and I've been working on, which is now Sourcery, ever since.
But being brought in as a student, they really put a big emphasis on me teaching myself the tools and the skills necessary to actually contribute significantly to this app, and not in like in a way that I felt pressured at all, but in a way that I felt as if they supported my fulfillment as I guess both like a developer and a scholar. So I would say at Greenhouse, compared to, I guess, other places, I think a lot of places, especially when they take in, people who sort of enter the workforce, they expect there to be like a length of time where they have to catch up and learn. But at Greenhouse, they really support like independent research and sort of, if you come up with something, you bounce the idea off someone else and get feedback and sort of move forward without really a sense of, I guess, like a sense of you have to get something done or you have to contribute something within a time frame. It's more like, as long as you are personally increasing like your skills and what you can do, then that is time well spent.
So so I was in industry for a number of years, and doing freelance, also working with the University of Connecticut. And I wouldn't say there was anything wrong with the way it's done outside of Greenhouse, but it's certainly different. For sure, there have been projects where someone like myself or someone like Samson might be viewed specifically as a developer and just the person that gets, you know, a design of the product to in the hands of the people, and that's it. So you would have basically a roadmap sort of laid out before you, or a blueprint, and then you would have to execute. And a lot of times there wasn't that option to push back on certain things. You know, decisions have already been made, and stakeholders have already been, you know, made aware of the plans, and you know, this is the thing that needs to be delivered. And definitely greenhouse, and to some extent in academia, you know, I joked about the table that everyone sits around at, but we would actually, for our meetings for Sourcery, we'd sit around that table, and everyone had input, and it didn't matter what your ultimate role was in the project. At every step along the way, you have input in what we're creating, and you have some ownership, and you feel invested in, you know, the product or service or research that you're doing with the entire team.
I guess from my academic background, which is in computer science, I didn't take the route of software development like a lot of students do. I took the route more of um, algorithm design and analysis, which is a lot more, I guess, theoretical and less practical, which is you know, a major interest for me, and why I pursued it. But the work I do at Greenhouse is definitely in a very different direction. It's a lot more hands-on and practical, and you know, it's a development focused position. So um, having that contrast has been really awesome for me, because I actually have an out see the crossover from this mainly theory that I study in my classes and in school and research, and then sort of be able to see where it can be applied and practice, and in some cases actually be able to apply it. So in that sense, in terms of opportunities, it's like afforded me the I guess a much wider range of options in terms of positions that I'm interested in and then I can apply to, and then I actually have real experience, and like you mentioned, having something substantial on my portfolio sort of on the jump is pretty amazing, because um, I mean, even though Sorcery is in its beta, I'm pretty happy with what it's become. And you know, even though I've been working part time, I have been working on it for um, over 2 years now. Yeah, over 2 years. So I can sort of see, you know, my signature in it. I don't know how neat it is, but I can certainly see myself in the app in places, and you know, that makes me pretty happy moving forward.
I think it's about 3 years now, and it's, you know, it's morphed quite a bit. You know, I mentioned earlier that early on it was called Tube, you know, at least internally, until it was decided that that might have been, there might be some copyright and various trademark issues with Tube, but I actually think we ended up with a better name anyway. I like Sourcery a lot better, but yeah, it's been 3 years, sort of doing it part time, and you know, when I'm not teaching or doing other things, I work on it as much as I can, because I love working on it, and I love working with the team. And it's also great because it helps me it helps me in the classroom as well. Had I not had a project like this, where I get to do web development and e-commerce type work, still in the industry and stay current, it's really easy in the web industry to fall behind if you're not actively working, you know, on a day-to-day basis and staying up with the latest trends and technology. So that's been really helpful to me as well.
there's probably 1,000 things that we're working on at the moment. Whenever you create something new or come out with a patch or fix something, 10 things open up that we could potentially work on, or new problems arise as it becomes more complicated. But we're slowly upgrading the app to something that, I guess, services institutions better than the individual. And so something that I've been specifically working on has been updating the pricing algorithm for requests that are serviced through the app. And basically what that means is, instead of having a set price that an individual would sort of fulfill and go through, we might have a different price for an institution if they decide that they want to sort of service this job themselves. And they might have, I guess, a different protocol for how they actually charge these requests. So sort of implementing that in the app is what I've been working on.
I think Samson pretty much nailed it. Yeah, we've sort of pivoted slightly with the app based on feedback that we've seen from the industry, because we've met with industry professionals, people at other institutions who have archives and would like to, share the resources that they have with the world. And also because of the pandemic and a lot of places have been locked down, the sort of peer-to-peer model that we initially envisioned for Sourcery kind of fell apart as soon as we launched. So we had to quickly pivot to sort of this institutional model where, our people can request documents at institutions, and the actual institution themselves would or someone at the institution would fulfill a document request, because they're really the only ones at this point that are typically allowed in the archives. We can't get actual, outside people in. So we've been meeting with different industry partners, different schools, different institutions, to kind of work with them, get a feel for what it is that they need out of this app to make it work in their workflow. And we're hoping to get it tested sort of in a beta test phase with a few institutions in the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be really exciting, because we'll get a lot of really great feedback from some of these institutions. It should be great.
I guess I can just touch on it briefly. We've had many different testing protocols, and it's something that we continually try to optimize. But I guess it usually starts with one of us will make a change that's significant, and we'll feel that it looks ready, and we'll test it locally. And if everything seems to be all set, then usually we'll reach out to the rest of the team and have them, we'll tell them what feature exactly that we implemented and see if they can test it out, which I guess is particularly helpful, not only to sort of catch bugs early on, but make sure everything is sort of intuitive and makes sense from a user's perspective, someone who didn't actually, code it and develop it. And then I guess sort of what Brian was saying, how we mentioned that working with the institutions could provide valuable feedback. Well, I guess being in the beta phase, the final layer of testing is actually having the users, use the app as intended, and then catch something and hopefully let us know.
Yeah, we've tried to automate a lot of the testing that we can, and but the problem has been with automating testing that it's been a little bit of a moving target, because the app has morphed so much in like the last year that it's a little difficult to automate the typical path that actual users would take within the app. So we learned, I think, last week that we're going to have someone help out with some testing. And so typically that involves, like Samson said, that we have some sort of script we've had some sort of feature that we've executed, and we have a sort of siloed version of the app where we can have users go with their script and actually go through and test all of the aspects of the app to make sure that it's working, and we didn't actually create 10 more bugs instead of just fixing the one.